When talking about American imperialism, the first place we need to talk about is Hawaii. Now, Hawaii was discovered by Europeans in 1778 by the British Captain Cook, and its location is what is particularly important, at least at first, for Americans. It is located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and this is really important now that America is trying to create a strong navy. Again, remember Alfred Thayer Mahan saying that you can be a strong country only if you have a strong navy. So Hawaii is ideally located for a sort of refueling station. On top of that, the island of Oahu is really enticing. It has this great harbor, if you see there, sort of in the south central location, and the name of that is Pearl Harbor. That will be really important for the U.S. Navy. Perhaps you've heard of it before. I don't know, it might be a little bit familiar to you. On top of just the location for the Navy, the location and its capabilities agriculturally are going to be important for this story of empire. Hawaii is a great place for growing sugarcane as well as pineapple, and this is where we introduce Sanford Dole. Sanford Dole was an American planter who had moved to Hawaii. Now, Hawaii at this time in the 1800s, it is a sovereign kingdom. It is its own country, essentially. So Sanford Dole is an American businessman. Now, perhaps you recognize the name. Yes, this is the same Dole. It's a different, it's his cousin who was running the Dole company at this time, but same family. Sanford Dole plays into this story of empire. He's born in Hawaii, but he is technically American, born to American citizens, and he wants increased westernization and only wants power in Hawaii to belong to the whites and the educated or literate Hawaiians. In 1877, a new king comes to the throne. This is King Kalakaua, and he is able to cooperate or is coerced, depending on the opinion, with Dole and the other American planters. They're known as the Haole. And all of these American planters are able to sort of force him to sign a constitution. It's called the Bayonet Constitution because of this force. And in this constitution, it allows sugar to be sold to America tax-free. And so these planters are acting in their own benefit. The king really is sort of handing over power in many ways to these white American planters, or the Haole. Now, this is the king's cousin, King Liliuokalani, and when she was just princess, she traveled to the United States. She was on her way to Great Britain to visit Queen Victoria on one of her Jubilee celebrations. And she lands in California and travels across the entire United States. And everywhere she is treated as a dignitary, a foreign dignitary. When she gets to Washington, D.C., they host a state dinner for her. So this shows us that America is looking at Hawaii and looking at Liliuokalani as representatives of a sovereign nation, of a separate, self-governing nation. So that's in 1887. Now, I love this picture. It's showing an interesting guest at the state dinner in 1877. But it's just what a horrible, horrible drawing. Now, King Kalakaua, he does not have any children. So the throne goes to his cousin, Liliuokalani, and she becomes queen in 1891. And she wants to write a new constitution that gives more rights back to Native Hawaiians. She was not aware of the constitution that her cousin wrote, or her uncle wrote, the bayonet constitution. And so, of course, the Haole are going to feel incredibly threatened by this new move that she is making for a different constitution. In 1893, these Haole ask the American government for support, for protection. They say that they are being threatened, that the U.S. needs to protect U.S. citizens. The other thing is that the Haole are arguing that when the Queen did not accept the 1897 Constitution, she was essentially abdicating her power, since that Constitution was signed by the monarch of Hawaii and she was the monarch of Hawaii, but not agreeing to adhere to previous treaties created by the leader of Hawaii. So in 1893, when these Haole are asking for protection, asking for annexation, the U.S. sends the Marines and the Navy. They land in Honolulu. And the thing is, when you have the Marines and sailors landing on your shores, but they say, we're here under orders of neutrality, that's kind of hard to believe. So at this time, the Queen essentially is forced to abdicate. What choice does she have when coming up against the U.S. Navy and the Marines? So essentially it is businessmen, these Haole, who are able to force an overthrow of her. She does not want to, but what choice does she have, because she's now fighting against this huge power. Now remember, just a few years earlier, she had been accepted as a sovereign, as a monarch of a separate country. And now, because of the interests of American businesses, Hawaii becomes a protectorate. It is essentially annexed by the United States. Within a year, these Haole are able to sort of take over, and Sanford Dole is elected president of the Hawaiian Republic. And then President Harrison is able to sort of send to the Senate this idea of making Hawaii a United States territory. And this picture is, I think, so interesting. The founding members of the Republic of Hawaii, they are pretty much all white businessmen. And so the way that we treated Hawaii purely for our own benefit, our own business and financial success, this is absolutely horrible. We think of America as being the land of the free and the home of the brave. But this we are seeing still with this Gilded Era age of getting more and having more and obtaining everything possible. And sometimes that can lead to greed and ill effects. We see that happening here in the case of Hawaii.